People across our area are thinking about safety at their places of worship after this weekend's deadly synagogue shooting in California.
Has a lot of local religious leaders wondering how they can better protect their congregations. 10 News reporter Lindsay Kennett talked with police and local places of worship to see what safety protocols they're now considering.
Heartbroken over hate.
When any of these hit your own community, it is much, much more difficult to stomach.
Temple Emmanuel Rabbi Kathy Cohen says the Jewish community isn't the only one hurting after Saturday's synagogue shooting in San Diego.
I don't think that it is necessarily about being Jewish or about being Muslim or about being Christian. I think it is about ignorance.
Roanoke County Crime Prevention Coordinator Thurman says every place of worship is at risk. Rabbi Cohen could not talk about the temple's specific security protocols, but says they're always looking for ways to increase safety. Butts says congregations frequently ask about carrying guns. In Virginia, it's legal to openly carry loaded firearms, so it's up to places of worship to decide if they'll allow their members to carry guns.
You can, in fact, carry a weapon during religious worship services as long as it's done with the best interests of the church in mind.
Though, arming a congregation could be a liability.
If you carry a firearm, you have to be able to know when to use it and when not to use it.
For Rabbi Cohen, it's a tough debate.
There are communities who believe that guns promote more violence, and there are communities who believe that the presence of guns decreases the likelihood of violence. I don't think we know the answer to the question.
Police do recommend congregations lock doors during worship services, have security guards stand watch and patrol, hire an internal security team, and work with local law enforcement. But Rabbi Cohen says there needs to be more education about acceptance because everyone deserves to worship his or her God in peace.
There is not any major religion that does not believe in love, that does not believe in kindness, that does not believe in goodness. And when you attack one faith community, you attack all faith communities.
In Roanoke, Lindsay Kennett, 10 News, working for you.